You have probably heard it 1,000 times. Eat less, move more. That is the formula for losing fat, right? But here is something interesting. Some people wake up a little lighter every morning without changing their diet or hitting the gym. Meanwhile, others do everything by the book and still see that stubborn belly fat sticking around. Same effort, different results. So what is going on? It turns out your body has a natural fat-burning process that runs every single night while you sleep. You do not have to do anything special to start it. Your brain is already programmed to release certain hormones during deep sleep that tell your fat cells to open up and release stored energy. The catch is most of us accidentally block this process without even knowing it. Not because we are doing something wrong on purpose, but simply because of small habits in the hour before bed. Why does this happen? And how can you get out of your body's way so it can do what it already knows how to do? In this video, I will walk you through exactly what happens inside your body at night, why some common evening habits interrupt the process, and what simple changes can help you wake up feeling lighter and more rested. Before we start, this is educational content, not medical advice. If you have any health conditions or take medications, please talk to your doctor first. All right, let us begin with what actually happens when you fall asleep. When you fall asleep, your body does not just shut down. It shifts into a completely different mode. Think of it like a factory that stops production and switches to maintenance and cleanup. During the day, your body focuses on processing food, managing energy, responding to stress. But at night, especially during deep sleep, something remarkable happens. Your brain releases a hormone called growth hormone. Despite its name, this is not just about growing taller. In adults, growth hormone plays a completely different role. It tells your fat cells to open up and release their stored energy. It signals your body to burn that fat for fuel. It helps repair your muscles. It strengthens your bones. It even affects how sharp and alert you feel when you wake up. This hormone is one of the most powerful fat-burning signals your body produces. And the fascinating part is that you do not need to do anything to activate it. You do not need to exercise. You do not need to take supplements. Your brain is programmed to release it automatically every single night, as long as certain conditions are met. The problem is that most people accidentally violate those conditions without knowing it. In 2025, researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, published a groundbreaking study in the journal Cell. For the first time ever, they recorded the actual brain activity that controls growth hormone release during sleep. They found specific neurons deep in the brain that act like a control switch, turning fat burning on or off, depending on what stage of sleep you are in. The lead researcher described it as watching the body's hormonal command center in real time. They could see exactly when the signal was sent and exactly what blocked it. Here is the key finding. About 70% of your growth hormone is released during deep sleep, not light sleep, not the dreaming phase, deep sleep specifically. This means if you never reach deep sleep or if you only stay there briefly, your body never gets the full signal to burn fat. You could lie in bed for 8 hours and miss the entire fat-burning window. But there is another problem. Even if you do reach deep sleep, something else can completely block growth hormone from being released. And this is where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves. Your body has another hormone called insulin. You have probably heard of it in relation to diabetes, but insulin affects everyone every single day. Whenever you eat especially foods with sugar or starch, your blood sugar rises. Your body releases insulin to deal with it. Insulin tells your cells to absorb that sugar and either use it for energy or store it as fat. Insulin is not a bad hormone. It is essential for survival. Without it, sugar would build up in your blood to dangerous levels. The problem is not insulin itself. The problem is timing. Here is what most people do not realize. Insulin and growth hormone, it cannot work at the same time. They are opposites. When insulin is high, growth hormone production shuts down almost completely. Your brain literally checks for insulin before releasing growth hormone. If it detects elevated insulin, it holds back. Think about what this means for your typical evening. If you eat something at 9 in the evening and go to bed at 10, your insulin is still elevated. Your body is still in storage mode. When you enter deep sleep, your brain checks the situation and finds insulin still circulating. So it does not release growth hormone. The signal to burn fat never goes out. For the next 6, 7, 8 hours, your fat cells stay locked. You wake up in the morning and that stubborn belly fat is still there. Not because you ate too much, not because you lack discipline, but because the hormonal signal to release it was never sent. The timing matters more than most people think. Insulin takes roughly 2 to 3 hours to return to baseline after eating, depending on what you ate. Sugary foods and refined carbohydrates keep insulin elevated longer. Protein and fat cause a smaller, shorter rise. This explains why two people can eat the same number of calories and have completely different results. One person finishes dinner at 6 and goes to bed at 10. Their insulin has been low for hours. Growth hormone floods their system during deep sleep. They burn fat all night. The other person eats the same dinner at 9 and goes to bed at 10. Their insulin is still elevated. Growth hormone never gets released in significant amounts. Their fat stays locked away. Same calories, same food, completely different hormonal outcome. So if you want growth hormone to do its job while you sleep, you need to give your body enough time for insulin to drop before you fall asleep. For most people, this means finishing your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. Not because eating at night is inherently bad, but because of what elevated insulin does to your nighttime hormone balance. This is not about following a strict rule. It is about understanding cause and effect. Now, if you have diabetes and use insulin medication, changing your meal timing could affect your blood sugar levels. Please talk to your doctor before making any changes. For everyone else, this is simply about understanding the sequence. Eat earlier, insulin drops, growth hormone rises, fat burning begins. But timing your meals is only part of the picture. Because even with perfect meal timing, you can still block fat burning if you never reach deep sleep in the first place. And this is where modern life creates a serious problem. Your sleep is not one continuous state. It cycles through different stages throughout the night. Light sleep, deep sleep, dream sleep, and back again. Each cycle takes about 90 minutes. The deepest sleep typically happens in the first half of the night, especially in that first cycle after you fall asleep. If you have ever woken up after 8 hours and still felt exhausted, you probably spent most of the night in light sleep stages. Your body was resting, but it never went deep enough to trigger the hormonal cascade that leads to fat burning and true recovery. Growth hormone release is tightly linked to this deep sleep phase. Scientists call it slow wave sleep because your brain waves actually slow down to a deep rhythmic pattern. This is when your body does its most important repair work. This is when growth hormone surges. This is when fat burning peaks. If something prevents you from reaching deep sleep, or if it keeps pulling you back to lighter stages, you miss the window entirely. One of the biggest deep sleep destroyers is something you probably use every single night. Your phone, your laptop, your television. These devices emit blue light. Blue light is the same wavelength that sunlight contains during the day. For millions of years, blue light meant one thing to human beings. The sun is up. Stay alert. Stay awake. Our brains evolved to respond to blue light as a powerful wakefulness signal. When your eyes detect blue light, they send a signal to your brain that essentially says it is still daytime. The sun has not set. Do not prepare for sleep yet. Your brain responds by suppressing a hormone called melatonin. Melatonin is what makes you feel sleepy. More importantly, melatonin helps your brain transition from light sleep into deep sleep. It is like a guide that leads you down into those deeper stages where fat burning happens. Without enough melatonin, you might feel tired. You might even fall asleep, but you stay in the shallow stages. You drift near the surface all night. You never dive down to where the real recovery and fat burning happens. Researchers at Harvard compared what happens when people are exposed to blue light versus green light before bed. The results were striking. Blue light suppressed melatonin for twice as long. It shifted people's internal body clocks by up to 3 hours. Their sleep looked normal from the outside, but the architecture of their sleep, the time spent in each stage, was completely disrupted. This is why you can sleep for 8 hours and still wake up feeling unrested. This is why some people lie in bed scrolling through their phones, finally put the device down, and then cannot fall asleep for another hour. Their brain thinks the sun is still up. The solution is simpler than you might expect. Reducing screen exposure in the hour before bed makes a measurable difference. If you must use devices, blue light filtering glasses or screen settings that shift to warmer colors can help. But the most effective approach is simply stepping away from screens as bedtime approaches. There is one more factor that affects deep sleep, and it is so simple that most people overlook it entirely. Temperature. Your body has a natural rhythm when it comes to temperature. During the day, your core temperature stays relatively high, keeping you alert and active. As evening approaches, it begins to drop. This cooling process is one of the signals that tells your brain it is time to sleep. When your core temperature falls, you get drowsy. When it falls further during sleep, you enter the deeper stages more easily. This is biology that goes back millions of years. Before central heating, before insulated homes, humans slept in environments that naturally cooled down at night. Our bodies learned to use that temperature drop as a reliable signal for sleep. But if your bedroom is too warm, this cooling process gets disrupted. Your body struggles to lower its temperature. You stay in lighter sleep stages. You toss and turn. You wake up multiple times without remembering it. Your brain never gets the all-clear signal to release growth hormone. Research suggests the ideal bedroom temperature for most adults falls between 15 and 20 degrees Celsius, or roughly 60 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. This might feel cooler than what you are used to, but your body sleeps better in a slightly cool environment. Many people who struggle with sleep are simply sleeping in rooms that are too warm. There is an interesting trick that takes advantage of this temperature mechanism. Taking a warm shower or bath about an hour before bed actually helps you sleep better, even though it temporarily raises your skin temperature. Here is why. The warm water brings blood to your skin surface. When you step out of the shower, that blood releases heat rapidly into the cooler air. Your core temperature drops faster than it would naturally. Your body interprets this as a strong signal that sleep time has arrived. Small changes in skin temperature, even less than half a degree, have been shown to shorten the time it takes to fall asleep and increase time spent in deep sleep. So now you understand the three main factors. First, insulin needs to be low when you fall asleep. This means finishing eating 2 to 3 hours before bed. Second, melatonin needs to rise so you can reach deep sleep. This means reducing blue light exposure in the evening. Third, your body temperature needs to drop. This means keeping your bedroom cool and possibly using a warm shower to accelerate the cooling process. When these three conditions align, growth hormone release can increase dramatically. Some studies suggest levels can rise up to 5 times higher than when these conditions are not met. Your fat cells receive the signal loud and clear. They open up. They release stored fat into your bloodstream. Your body burns it for energy throughout the night. You wake up lighter, not because of magic, because of biology working the way it was designed to work. This is not some new discovery. This is how human bodies have functioned for thousands of years. Our ancestors did not have refrigerators full of midnight snacks. They did not have glowing screens keeping their brains awake. They ate when food was available, usually earlier in the day, and they slept when darkness fell. Their bodies spent every night in fat-burning mode. It was not optional, it was survival. They needed that released energy to hunt and gather the next day. Evolution built this system into us. We still have the same biology. We have just been accidentally blocking it with modern habits. Now, this does not mean you need to be perfect. If you eat late one night, the world does not end. If you watch a show before bed, you have not ruined everything. The goal is understanding the system so you can work with it more often than against it. And if you work night shifts or have an unusual schedule, do not worry. These principles are not about specific clock times. They are about the relationship between eating, sleeping, and hormones. If you sleep at 2 in the morning, your cutoff for eating is around 11 at night. Work with your schedule, not against it. This is also not about starving yourself. If you go to bed genuinely hungry, you will not sleep well either. The key is having a satisfying dinner with enough protein and healthy fats to keep you full through the night. You should feel content, not stuffed, not starving. Listen to your body. If something does not feel right, adjust. This is meant to work with your biology, not punish it. Here is what many people discover once they understand this system. They stop blaming themselves. They realize they were never lazy. They were never lacking willpower. They were simply blocking a process that their body wanted to do all along. When you step back and let your biology work, fat loss stops feeling like a battle. You are not forcing anything. You are not white-knuckling through cravings. You are just sleeping. And while you sleep, your body does what it has always known how to do. You do not need another extreme diet. You do not need to spend more hours at the gym. You need to understand what happens inside you every night and remove the obstacles that have been getting in the way. 60 minutes before bed. That is your window. What you do in that hour, what you eat, what you look at, how you prepare your environment sets the stage for the next 8 hours. Get it right, and you wake up leaner, more rested, more energized. Get it wrong, and you wake up exactly where you started, wondering why nothing ever seems to work. The mechanism is clear. The science is real. The choice starting tonight is yours. And if you think this changes how you see your body, wait until you learn what happens when you break a fast incorrectly. The mistakes people make when they start eating again can undo everything. And almost nobody talks about it. Stay healthy.